Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 4. Gennine, you're on the air.
Hi, Patty. How's it going?
Doing okay. How about you?
Good. I'm just calling about the Fogo Island ferry again. Shocker, right?
Okay, what's on your mind?
What's on my mind? I'm on Fogo Island enjoying a beautiful sunny day, and again, there's no ferry service that's properly or adequately running to Fogo Island. And it was so nice to hear about the regatta this morning and, the Prime Minister being there, and I'm sure all the other politicians that are enjoying that historical event in St. John's. And we have our own on Fogo Island this weekend, the Folk Festival. And I think the situation with the ferry is going to be a huge hindrance to anybody who's wanting to come out to Fogo Island, since the boat, which has been assigned here, is broken down yet again. And, we have an inadequate boat for 2 islands and an enormous volume of traffic. There's people who, I've met on hiking trails that are arriving here at 1:45 a.m. after waiting in a lineup for 12 hours. And, it's just another unacceptable week with people having no access to transportation. So I guess I'm calling in to address the politicians. So your premier is Andrew Ferry. I won't use the word honorable because there's nothing honorable about the way the people of this island are being treated. And to the newly appointed cabinet minister, Fred Hutton, there was a shuffle, who is now in charge of transportation. I guess my call is to address them. What has been done? I called in June, and it was the exact same thing. It was in May, the end of May I was here, and it's the exact same thing. I'm asking a question. What has the government done in the last 2 months? What actionable thing has the government done to rectify the situation on Fogo Island? Has there been anything done? Has there been any plan, put into place to assess the need for ferries? Has there been any action forward taken to figure out how to deal with this boat, which is clearly a lemon? It does not work. It is broken. It is dry docked more than it's in the water. What is the plan? What's the plan for the future? What is the plan for this week? I just don't understand how the government in St. John's thinks that this is acceptable for the people of this island, the tourists of this island, the people working on the island, setting products off from the Fogo Island Co-op around the world. How are we supposed to live and operate when there is not a means of transportation that is reliable and adequate to get on and off this island?
Well, one of the plans...
That's what I'm asking.
One of the plans is spend millions of dollars to replace the engines. So that's one thing. And, of course, that takes time. And the mechanical issues that have been plaguing the Legionnaire and the Veteran have been extremely disappointing, if not a more colourful word to be chosen there. But what do you think the plan could be? Because those are the only 2 ferries of their type here in the province.
Patty, respectfully, the government has been well aware, and I know this because I know people on the boat. The boat has been running on 2 engines. It was running on 2 engines when it was dry docked in the winter. The boat is supposed to have 3 engines. Now, you're telling me in the 6 months, that boat was built in 1 year, by the way. So in the 6 months that boat was dry docked in St. John's, starting in the winter when we had a loaner boat from Labrador, they didn't know that, wait, there's an engine that's not working. Perhaps we should repair that engine while it's dry docked. Get the part. I don't believe it is BS. Anyone telling me that it takes 6 months or it's so difficult to get the part, that's not true. The boat was built in a year. The government is not being transparent with the people, and I just don't believe they care. I don't believe they care. And I would strongly encourage Mr. Ferry, Fred Hutton, come out to Fogo Island this weekend. I'm sure you're at the regatta today enjoying the festivities in St. John's. Come out to Fogo Island for the Folk Festival and pack your lunch and pack your water and bring your toilet paper and a bag to put it in because the bathroom at the ferry lineup is not fit to use. I wouldn't send a dog in there. Come out and enjoy the weekend with the people. And you tell them what you've done. Tell them what steps, what actions have been taken since May, well, actually since January, to help rectify the situation. And this is my opinion. The boat that is in Bell Island now. The boat with larger capacity should be sent to Fogo Island. It should have been sent to Fogo Island yesterday when that boat came off. Send the boat to Hamel, send the smaller boat to Bell Island where there is a lower volume of traffic. The need is not as great. It is not an island where essential things are coming on and off at the same volume as they are on Fogo Island. The run is shorter. It's a 20-minute run. If you miss the boat, you might wait an hour. You might wait 2. You're not waiting 12.
But that's not the case, though, Gennine. It simply isn't. The passenger volume on the Tickle is more than comes across on Marine Atlantic. There was just a story last week about the frustration experienced by Bell Island users who are waiting hours in the line to get on. So it's not quite as...
Well, at least they're getting off. At least they're getting off. And you know what? They're getting off, and they're going to a place where they can get all the goods and services that they need, and they're driving them home in their car. Where are you getting your groceries on Fogo Island? Go to the grocery store on Fogo Island, Patty, and see what's not in stock because the trucks can't cross.
I understand the concern, Gennine, but...
It's not about a concern. It's about having a system of evaluation to determine the need. And the boats, which are assets of the government that the taxpayers of Fogo Island also paid for, their hard-earned money pays the salaries of the politicians, and it funds those things. There should be a system of need and assessment, and then the boats are sent to the appropriate place. And I believe, and I'm sure most of the people of Fogo Island believe, that the need is greater here right now. There's no way that you can tell me that a 20-minute run compares to an hour-long run, and waiting a couple of hours is the same as waiting for 12 hours, or just not going at all. Trucks are not going. People want to deliver out here. They know what a headache it is. Like, it's not the same. It is not the same, and you need an objective system to determine that and take the emotions out of it, take the competition out of it, and determine where the boats are best needed and send them, because this is ridiculous. And I'm asking Andrew Ferry and I'm asking Fred Hutton, address the people of your province. You're like, the government is sitting right now. I just heard you say that. Address the people of Fogo Island.
The government is what, sorry?
TV. Didn't you just say the government is making some budget announcement, which is historical, that it's happening in the summer? There is action happening in the government. I'm assuming they're doing their jobs.
No, they're not sitting.
Fred Hutton. Okay, my bad. Andrew Hutton, Fred Hutton, Andrew Ferry, why don't you guys address the people of Fogo Island and explain to them what you have done and what you are doing and your future plan, so that they don't have to continue to live with this uncertainty. Can I get to Gander to get my chemo treatment? Do I have to leave 3 days in advance? Should I be even living on the island? There are people selling their homes because of their health issues, because they do not have access to adequate health care, and that is impeded by the ferry.
Okay.
So this call is purely to the government. What are you doing? Show us what you're doing. The people at the very least deserve to see a plan. That's it.
So your plan basically, Gennine, is to take Bell Island's ferry to use for Fogo, period.
Absolutely not. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying,
what did you say?
As I said in June, you need to create an assessment of need for the ferries in the province. And that can be an objective thing. And you have points that you look at to determine the assessment of need. The movement of goods, the movement of people, the type of movement that's happening, the length of the run, the length of the wait, the consequence of missing a boat. And then you use that system to determine where the boats go. Because
but Gennine, you're basically saying the same thing that I just said using more words. The basic is there's only two.
I'm not using more words.
Excuse me. Hold on a second.
Logic. I'm using logic.
Hold on a second.
I'm using logic.
There's only
and I'm using a system. And what I am suggesting is to use a system to determine the need. That's it. A system to determine the need. And then the boat goes where it is most needed and most effective. And so a smaller boat that is not moving as quickly would probably do well on a shorter run. Don't you agree?
But look, I can't get a word in edgewise, which is frustrating, but there's only two vessels like it. There's the Veteran and the Legionnaire. If the Veteran's out and the Legionnaire is the only similarly sized vessel that can replace it on Fogo Island, so what you're basically saying is that if it's down in Fogo Island, then we should put the Legionnaire on the Fogo Island Change Islands farewell run.
Well,
that's it.
There are more than two boats, Patty, because we have two out here now. We have the Beaumont Hamel, which was sailing out here yesterday, and another smaller boat, and the name I just don't recall. So we do have two other boats. So send the two smaller boats to Bell Island, which would be adequate to do the 20-minute run that the people of Bell Island have to, that's the commute time for them. And most of the traffic coming from Bell Island are commuters to St. John's. Put the two smaller boats on the shorter run, and put the larger boat on the larger run, which has a higher volume of traffic. And the consequences for not getting on a boat in Fogo Island are far, far greater. And I think, math is pretty simple. If you're waiting 12 hours versus waiting 2 hours, that's not really the same. And that's not equitable, and it's not fair.
But all you're saying, though, Gennine, is that take the Legionnaire from the from the Belle Island run to put it on the Fogo Island run. That's it. That's what you're saying.
Well, I'm not saying take it from Belle Island because it doesn't belong to Belle Island. I'm not saying to take something and to cause suffering to the people of Belle Island. What I am suggesting is an objective system to determine what boat is needed in what place and to send it. And in my opinion, and that's an opinion, that's subjective, my opinion is that it would be better served on Fogo Island right now, but I think it would be really nice if the government actually had a means to determine where their assets are best needed and best used. That's exactly what I'm saying. And in my opinion, having two smaller boats on Belle Island right now would probably be better and would serve the people of Fogo Island better, given, it is peak tourist season. People are waiting in lineups for 12 hours. People are turning around. Go look at the Fogo Island Ferry update Facebook page. People are not coming to the island this weekend for our folk festival to celebrate our culture in Outport, Newfoundland. People are not able to come, and it's because of the boats. And I think if you go on a Belle Island site, that's a comparable. If you go on a Facebook, I don't think you're going to see the same thing. I just don't. And I don't think anyone has been waiting this summer for the Belle Island Ferry for 12 hours or waiting overnight or camping out in a truck. I just don't. So you can correct me if I'm wrong, and someone can call in and correct me if I'm wrong. And I'm not suggesting any harm to the people of Belle Island or to take something from them because they don't own the boat, and we also don't own the boat. No, I'm suggesting to put the boat where it's needed. No, Patty, that's not. But
you're splitting hairs. It's either take it or shift it or steam it or sail it or transport it or shift the arrangements.
Well, then I'll pose this question. Why is it that the people of Fogo Island are always getting the short stick? Why? Why are we getting the two small boats for two islands with an enormous volume of traffic? Why is it always the people of Fogo Island? Is it Belle Island's proximity to St. John's? Is it because it's not as bay? They're closer to St. John's. They can cause a bigger headache for you. Like, what is it? No. Why is it? If one island is going to suffer, why is it always this one?
Well, I've already said this many, many times, and look, you can have your own opinion. That's fine. That's what the show is for. But there's more traffic on the Belle Island run than there is on Marine Atlantic. That's if you're using facts, and I'll use some opinions and I'll use some facts. And so it's basically just shift around the government's assets. That's a fair comment, and an assessment of need is a fair comment. But it basically boils down to I'm not so sure how short end of the stick that Fogo and or Belle Island have gotten on this ferry system, because we just bought them two $50 million ferries. So I don't know how that constitutes a short end of the stick. The fact of the matter is they're not reliable.
What dud in the government bought two $50 million ships from Romania? I've never really thought of Romania as like a shipbuilding mecca. Let's go back in time to that. To repair these ships, who, again, if you want to talk about topics, who is responsible for the repair of those boats? Who made the decision to have a boat dry docked for 6 months knowing it was running on two engines, and rather than dealing with the failed third engine then are like, no, you know what, we'll send the boat back out to Fogo Island.
There's lots of shortcomings in this entire system. There's no doubt about it. I've been sitting in this chair a long time. I can remember quite clearly the concerns with selecting the dam and shipyards in Romania, and they were varied. Whether it be that be the right place to do business, whether it be the type of boats that we were building, whether it be the fact that the wharfs weren't even ready for the bloody boats when they got here. They bobbed around out in the ocean while we figured out whether or not we had to pay a tariff to allow them to operate in Canadian waters. So I've covered this issue pretty extensively over the course of the last almost 10 years.
It wouldn't be happening in St. John's. You know what?
Because we don't have a ferry.
No, it's not. I'm not talking about a ferry in St. John's. I'm talking about services and treatment of people and equality. I'm talking about equality. It wouldn't be happening in St. John's. It's happening because it's people in Outport, Newfoundland. It's people on Fogo Island. It's people that the government thinks doesn't have a voice. It doesn't matter. The government has done nothing since June, and I'll conclude with this. I was out here on May 27th. The government has done absolutely nothing, at least nothing that's been communicated to people of Fogo Island or Change Island.
Okay.
There's been no steps. No one has been informed of a plan. It's the same thing. And the whole concept is that you guys are just going to have to live with it and take it. And I don't think that would happen in St. John's. And maybe Bell Island, yeah, of course, there's challenges anywhere living on an island. But I just don't believe for a minute that the people of Bell Island have put up with a fraction of what the people of Change Island and Fogo Island and their family and tourists who want to come here have put up with.
I can tell you in no uncertain terms that there are plenty of issues that are dealt with by the provincial government that are woefully lacking in the city of St. John's. It is indisputable. I can tell you because I live here.
Well, I'm telling you, you can get in your car and you can pull out of your driveway. And if you need to go get dialysis, you drive to the hospital and you get it. If you need groceries, you're going to go. The shelves are going to be stocked.
Half the population lives on the Northeast Avalon.
If you run a business in St. John's, you can put your goods on a truck and ship it. You cannot say that for the people of Fogo Island. It's not equitable. It's not fair.
But nor is there,
it's not right.
But nor is there any
It's not
comparison
right.
to geographical challenges, nor is there any dispute regarding population base. There's a reason why the bulk of the services in the province are where half the population lives. That's just how things go. It doesn't matter where we're talking.
So I guess the tax dollars of the people, of the hardworking people of these two islands, I guess,
are being serviced.
Yeah.
Is it adequate? Maybe not. But there's lots of
It's
inadequacies in St. John's.
adequate.
Janine, I'm not doing this
This is
anymore.
third world. This is third world.
No,
This
it's
is
not.
third
You've never
world.
been to
There's
the
no
third
fear
world if you
system.
think that's the third world.
Patty, I've traveled all over the world. I've traveled all over the world. I've used lots of ferries all over the world.
Okay.
This is deplorable that you have people waiting 12, 13 hours
Understood.
to get on a boat.
Point taken. Appreciate the time.
Come out for the weekend, Patty. The
I'm too busy to go out for the weekend. But I appreciate the time. Off we go.
Maybe Mr. Ferry can.
Maybe
Okay.
he can. I'll leave that up to him. Appreciate the call. There we go. Let's see if we can get to the break.